Hey guys, how you doing? This is a video on maintaining your ginger bug. There's a million websites that talk about how to start a ginger bug. When I started, I didn't really see any on how to maintain it. So here's the cliff notes on how I maintain it, and then I'll go back and talk about ginger beer and then some of the basics, how I actually brew a batch and transfer the bug. So cliff notes is I make my tea. This is my ginger bug. Shake this up really good and I just pour some out, eyeball it. I don't measure it. I do for a gallon jar like this, I'll probably do about a third of this. I'll just glug it out, bits of ginger and everything. Then I will add back water, and then kind of the ratio that I started the ginger bug with was 1 cup of water to a quarter cup of ginger and a quarter cup of sugar. The ginger and sugar are always in the same amount. That's what I started with. So if I pour out a cup, I'll refill it with that. If it's 2 cups I want to replenish, then I'll do half a cup of ginger, half a cup of sugar. If you're feeding this and it builds up too much ginger, that's basically how I get rid of some, is when I shake it up, and then when I pour it out, a lot of the ginger pieces come out so it doesn't get just clogged, inundated with ginger. And then that's how I replenish the liquid too. Because those were the two things that I didn't really see addressed. I've been doing this for about a year now. This has worked out great for me. So I wish I could ask for questions right now, but I guess put them in the comments. So to talk a little bit about ginger beer is awesome. It's how all sodas used to be. They used to basically be a medicinal tea made from roots, hence root beer, different barks, all kinds of different plants and compounds went in. Even the name Coca-Cola, that's the name of 2 plants, cocaine, coca leaves, and cola was another plant that is another plant somewhere that I guess it too did some wacky stuff to you. So so you'd make a medicinal tea. Usually natural medicinal things are bitter, astringent, things like that, not super pleasant to drink. So whatever, what do they call them? Drugstore guys, whatever, I don't know who started it, figured out if you make this ginger bug, you add a ginger bug to your medicinal tea, you add some sugar so the ginger bug has something to eat. And then it also makes the tea kind of palatable. Then it's super nice. So you have this really pleasant drink. It's carbonated, which just feels nice. And it's also probiotic. Super win-win-win. So I first read about that years ago, and I was like, oh my God, that's what we should be doing, is making sodas like that and drinking those instead of the junk that you buy, or hopefully you don't buy at the store or the gas station anymore. But I've certainly had my share of in my life previously. So that's why ginger beer and natural sodas are awesome. Pretty much all the natural sodas use a ginger bug as the probiotic additive. Now, something that I'd love to learn more about is what exactly is the biology of the ginger bug. Like with kombucha, you have a SCOBY, that's symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. Cool. With the ginger bug, I don't know. I didn't really find much information on, is it bacteria and yeast? Is it just bacteria? Is it just yeast? I don't know. There are, in my ginger bug, there's always this white stuff on the bottom that some of that might be undissolved sugar, but I believe that some of that might be like ginger bug grains. Like if you ever made kefir, any of the types of kefir, they make these little kind of tiny gummy, they call them grains, but they're kind of gummy, and they sink to the bottom, and like a SCOBY floats in kombucha. So that's my suspicion. It's something like that, but it's much finer particles than kefir grains. So let's see. I forgot if I said now. Did I say if you keep this out at room temperature? One place I did see recommended feeding it a tablespoon of ginger and a tablespoon of sugar every day. If you keep it in the fridge, you can feed it that every week. And I did that for a while and that worked great. But then basically I didn't remember to always do that. So I will feed it when I make a batch of ginger beer. I only make ginger beer every 2 to 3 weeks. So that's when this gets fed. And it has been up to, I think it was about 6 weeks one time that I didn't feed it. Didn't show any sign of having any trouble at all. Still makes great ginger beer. Didn't seem to hurt it at all. Not saying it's going to work for you to leave it that long, but I had success with that. So I like things that are low maintenance. So I don't worry about that too much. I just park this guy in the fridge. I don't put the lid on too tight so it doesn't build up too much pressure. You know, you can do cloth and a rubber band and that's cool, but I basically just put that on loose. And then, so then I talked about replenishing that stuff, but that's how you feed it. That's how you feed the biology. So like I said, so I'll make a tea, whatever kind of tea you want to make, and then you let it cool down. So what I've been doing is about 1/3 of a cup of ginger in 10 cups of water. This was a little bit less, it's more liquid in this one because I'm making this one with some apple mint, and I also added some brown sugar in. That's fun to play. You can experiment with that. Brown sugar, molasses, honey, of course, any of the other sugars that you want to play with. Just makes a good tasting tea, but you got to have some kind of sugar for the ginger bug to eat. That's what turns into the carbon dioxide, the gas, the bubbles, the carbonation. So then while it's hot, I add sugar. The general recommendation is 1/3 of a cup of sugar per quart of liquid. So that's what I do. And then it's easy to dissolve it while the liquid's hot. So I just made this a little bit ago. It's still like too hot to hold. So I've already stirred up the sugar in here. So then I'm gonna let this cool, and it's like noon now. So it'll probably be later tonight, maybe 9 o'clock tonight. It'll be cool enough and I'll be done working on other projects, and I'll come back, shake this up, and I'll glug some out. And then what I found has actually been working really well the last few batches is if I shake this up really vigorously for like maybe 2 minutes, I think, this is my suspicion, this is just a guesswork on my part. I'm dissolving more oxygen into the liquid, and I think that helps the bugs because it seems to go a lot faster when I do that. So, and then what I do is after I inoculate it with the ginger bug, shake it up, I let it sit for maybe like 2 to 6 hours. And then this is just kind of my own thing. I just feel like that might help the bugs to get going in the liquid, and they'll start multiplying right away. And the tea will be better inoculated. And then, so after a few hours, I get my bottles all lined up, and I have a little narrow-necked funnel, and then a fine mesh strainer. That's what I use. People use cheesecloth, whatever you want to do. You don't even have to strain it. And then I shake this up again because I think that some of the bugs might settle. So I shake it up and then pour it off into my bottles. I usually leave most of the neck open. They say leave 1/2 inch of head space or whatever, but I leave more than that usually. But again, I don't if it's too high maintenance, I'm just not into it. So, and this has been very forgiving, very accommodating. So that's good. So I'll bottle it, and then let it sit out every day. You burp it, so you just relieve any pressure that's built up in it. Usually the first day there's nothing, and that's just the way it goes. It's the bugs are multiplying and building up and eating, and it's a slow start. It happens exponentially. So then when you get to a point where you've got what I listen for is I wish I had an example right now, but I don't have any at that stage. But when you got kind of okay, that's some good pressure, I park them in the fridge right away. if I don't wait that 2 to 4 hours, I find what's more likely to happen is that I'll have 1 or 2 bottles that the others will all have really good pressure. One will not have any pressure in it still. But just wait, leave it out. Sometimes it takes a few days to catch up, and then it'll get enough pressure too eventually. So you park it in the fridge, and then the metabolism of the little creatures slows way, 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 way down, but not as much as kombucha. So when I used to make kombucha, when I would put it in the fridge, so like if I had good amount of pressure and I put it in the fridge and I took it out a month later, it would have the same amount of pressure, as far as I could tell, as far as I could remember. With the ginger bug, it metabolizes more than that. It's not much in the fridge, but it's more. Am I going? Oh, sorry. I thought my video stopped recording. So if you have a good amount of pressure, you put it in the fridge, forget about it for a month, take it out. When you open it, it might be like scary. It might be like volcano style. So if you encounter that, if you think that you have one that's going to volcano on you, what I'd recommend doing is getting a big jar, like a gallon jar or a half-gallon jar at least, that's empty, not your sugar jar, with the lid off, get it all ready to go. Go outside where you can make a mess if you need to, and then don't try to slow release this. Just blow the top off and like dump it in, and it'll shoot in. And then like I did this the other day because I had one that went crazy on me, and like this whole jar was filled with foam, and there was like, a tiny bit of liquid at the bottom. That's how much gas pressure comes out of a bottle this size. This is a 12-ounce bottle in a gallon jar. So, and then it was no problem. But what happens is if you have a scary amount of pressure and you try to like slow release it, or you try to ease off, it's a disaster. Don't even try. Don't bother. If you want to check the pressure and you're not quite sure, you're suspicious, here's how I grab it. So here's the swing top, they call it. I hold it like this. So I've got my finger over the top of the little nubber bubber stopper here. I don't know what you call that part. But this, you can't push down against the pressure when it builds up. You're not strong enough. This is mostly just to keep this from popping out and going cattywampus. And then I wrap my hand around this side of the swing top. So as I release it, I've got the leverage. I'm pushing here. I've got some mechanical advantage. So what you want to do is you want to ease the swing top up a little bit, but you don't want it to get up here where you lose control, where this just blows off and you lose control. So, so I'll just wrap my whole hand around this, and I pinch this way too, because it sits in these little, there's little indentations in the glass. And I've had a couple bottles, not this style, a little different ones, but the wire pops out of that glass indentation, and then it's game over. It's a disaster. There are still stains on the blind for this window, which is our kitchen sink, because of that. Because that little rascal popped out of there. I would have had it otherwise. So when I do this now, I'm actually trying to pinch those in a little bit too. I'm really like clamping down on the whole thing. But the best thing is just go outside. So if you have a disaster, you don't have to clean your whole kitchen twice. Okay, so yeah, and then so you can make your tea. You make all kinds of fun stuff with it. I did one. This is dandelion flower and ginger. I always put ginger in it too, because I don't know, it's ginger beer. It's the base. But this is dandelion flowers. This was really nice. And then this one was a friend and I. We were experimenting with. We juiced nettles and then added the nettle juice, and that's a really cool thing because the juice. I add it after the tea cools down, so the juice stays raw in here. So I feel like there's all kinds of really good, the micronutrients, phytochemicals or whatever that break down with heat. yeah, so there's like really good stuff in here. I mean, there's still sugar. It's still, carbonated sugar water to some extent. You can play with the right ratio of sugar for you. If you're getting the right amount of carbonation, but it's too sweet, obviously less sugar and vice versa. Okay. Um, I think that's it. I think we covered it. Hopefully I didn't forget anything. If you have any questions, throw it in the comments. Thanks for watching. Good luck. Hope this was helpful. Get out there, make yourself some ginger beer, have fun, stay away from, what's that stuff called? High fructose corn syrup. It's not the way. Ginger beer is the way. Living foods, making it yourself. You can do it. Oh, one more thing, actually. This was really helpful. So I started this myself, and I found one website that said what can happen is there's one particular type of bacteria or yeast that will tend to get started when you start your culture, and then it dies back really quickly. And then it takes a long time for the right balance to build itself up. And that's exactly what I experienced. So I just started out with, I forgot if I started with a cup or 2 cups of liquid, but I think, anyway, it's 1 cup of water, 1/4 cup of ginger, 1/4 cup of sugar. I think I said that at the beginning of the video. And then you let it sit out, covered with, that's the time to cover it with cheesecloth or something. Sitting out at room temperature in a cabinet or something. Then you feed it every day. A teaspoon, I think, actually, you feed it a teaspoon of sugar and ginger every day. And I had this experience where it bubbled. First few days, it started bubbling up. I was like, awesome, I got this. This is going to work. Super stoked. And then it went flat. Nothing. No bubbles. Nothing. But I thought, well, I'll just keep trying. I'll just keep feeding it every day. And either at some point it'll start getting nasty and gross, or it'll come back to life. And I mean, I think it was a few weeks, and I don't think I even fed it every day. I think I got sloppy there and I was not feeding it every day, but but it took several weeks, and then it started coming back to life. It started having bubbles again. And then I started making ginger beer with it, and then it's worked great ever since. And I have split this off several times, given it to a few friends, and they're all making ginger beer, and it's all working well for them. Okay, now I think I'm done. So, yeah, good luck. Get out there, get started, and enjoy.